Many times in programming, there is a need to work with numbers, for example, math problems and money. But the numbers cannot be initially stored as primitive data types. How can we perform operations? Consider the example below. A program must be written that will calculate single operation math problems using plus, minus, multiplying, or dividing. For example, the user could input 5 minus 3, and the program will output 2. A few things must be considered. Let's start typing and see what happens. Alright, we have our import statement, our class, our main method. We're going to print out enter your single operation problem, and then we're going to save that problem in the variable problem. Notice that the input must be stored as a string. This is because it includes more than just a number. We can't do math with strings. We need to convert them to numeric data types. But how? There is another set of methods for strings that are able to convert a string containing a numeric value into an int or double so that it can be used as such. Integer.parseInt can identify an integer value, and double.parseDouble can identify a decimal value. The example below extracts the numeric portion of the string amount and converts it to an int and a double. So if we begin with string amount equals I have $32.50, we're going to save this as a string twice, once as the double, once as the integer. So money is going to be substring 8 through 13, so that will be 32.50, and we're going to have money int be just from 8 to 10, so that will be 32, and those are both saved as strings. Then we'll have int value. We are going to parse int from money int, and that will save the 32 as an integer. And parse double is going to change that 32.50 into a double, save it in dec value here as 32.5. Note, parse int and parse double will only recognize numbers within a string. If any other characters are in it, errors will occur. Let's write our program that solves a math problem. In order to use parseInt in this program, we must know which characters in the string represent numbers. The first number is easy because it is at index 0. Remember, the example would be something like 5 minus 3. So we're looking at index 0, that will be this first number. So if we want to extract the first number from this string, 5 minus 3, first we have our string A equals problem, which is the string that we're given from the user. So 5 minus 3 would be this part here. We're going to do char@at method, index 0, so that would be 5. And we're going to save 5 into this string A. Then we're going to use parseInt to turn this 5 into an integer from a string. So we have int first equals integer.parseInt for A. So then first is going to contain the integer 5. We cannot use substring because that collects a series of characters, not just one. However, the problem with using char@at is that you cannot convert a char to a string, so we need to fool the system. By adding the digit 0 in front of the char value, we are now able to create a string and then convert to int. So here we have char temp, which is the character that is at index value 0. But then we create a new string called string A, which is 0, a string 0, plus the temperature here, which is a char, which converts this whole thing to a string. Then, because it's a string, we can use parseInt to turn it into an integer. The second number is at the end of the string. There are a few ways to do this, all of which are correct, but the easiest is to identify the index of the end of the string using the length method and then subtracting 1. So we have int end equals problem.length. So this is the string the user gives us. That's the length of that string minus 1. That's going to give us the index value of the last number in the string. So then we set temp equal to problem.char@end. So this is going to give us that char value that is at the end of the string. So this is that number. Then we're going to change that into a string using our cheat method by having string B equals 0 plus that char value. Then, since it's a string, we can use parseInt to turn it into an integer, which we can do math with. Now consider all the various operations the user could have used. How could you extract that character? Again, there are several ways to do this. In the segment below, the use of contains to check the entire string for each operation is combined with if-else statements. So this is going to check for the math symbol and then perform the operation. If the problem contains a plus sign, we're going to add the two numbers together. Minus sign, we'll subtract them. An asterisk, we will multiply them. And a slash, we will divide them. Now that ants holds our solution, we can print it out. What is different about the way the information is printed below? For more control of where to insert numeric values in a string, there is the printf method. Within the parameters of this print statement, we can use %d or %f anywhere to denote a placeholder for a numeric value of type int or double, respectively. Use %d for int and %f for double. So here's an example. Double money equals 24.75. We can use the printf method here. I earned a $, %f working. Then we have the close double quotes, comma, and then the variable name that's going to hold the value. So money's here, so we put money there. This will print out I earned $24.75 working. Notice the %f within the quotes of the string in the location that the value should appear. It is followed by a comma and the variable that contains the desired value. Multiple values can be inserted within the string. Each must have its own %d or %f location within the string and list the desired variable after it, as in the example below. So we have double money equals 78.40, int hours equals 17. Remember, use %f for a double, %d for an integer. Then we have our printf statement. I worked %d hours and made $%f. Then we finish our quotes, put a comma, then we put in the correct order the variables. So hours will be the first one here, and then money will be the second one here. The output for this segment is I worked 17 hours and made $78.40. The order that you declare the variables does not matter. What matters is the order in which they appear after the string. So as you can see, here we declared double money first and then int hours second, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is the order that we list them here. So like the first one here has to be with the first variable here, and the second one, %f here, has to go with the second variable there. Did you try running your code? Did you get errors? That's because ants is only defined within the else if statement, but the print statement is outside of it. So here we have our if statement. We declare double ants each time depending on the case, but then because it's inside of this if statement, we cannot access it once the statement is over because that's outside the scope of this variable. We could put the print statement inside each occurrence of the loop. However, there is a simpler solution. Just declare ants outside of the control statement. What happens now? The variable is once again only initialized inside the control statement. There are various ways to approach this, but setting the value originally to 0 works just fine. So we have double ants equals 0. And then when we enter the if statement here, we're going to save a different value inside of ands. Run your code. Can you add spaces in between the numbers? Try double digits. Troubleshoot the remainder of this on your own. Solutions on how to include any number of digits will vary.